They called her the daughter. Every Sunday dinner, every Christmas morning, every parent-teacher night when no one else showed. They said it in passing, in prayers, in promises. But when the man who raised her died, the will claimed she didn't exist. And in that moment, the girl who had once called him Dad became a ghost. Her name was Aubrey Whitaker, 34, freelance illustrator, quiet life in Asheville. Raised in a creaky farmhouse in Mason County by a man who never once made her feel second best. Until now. She arrived alone to the funeral, hair tucked, black dress, too formal for a rural church. But her heart was unraveling in formal wear. And the silence. The silence told her exactly where she stood. Eyes turned, then quickly turned away. A polite nod here, an uncomfortable fidget there. Even Meredith, the aunt who once sewed her Halloween costumes, wouldn't meet her eyes. She felt it like a needle under the skin. She took her place near the back, not because she wanted to, because the front pews were full, packed with people she used to call family, people who acted like she didn't belong anymore. The casket was closed. He didn't want people staring at a shell, he once said, but she wished she could see his face, to demand some kind of answer. Even if it didn't come, the service was short. A few scriptures, a choir song out of tune, and a eulogy from Pastor Reese, who'd known him 20 years but didn't know her at all. He was a man of honor, the pastor said. He loved his family. Aubrey looked around. No one looked back. Afterward, people gathered in the church hall. Ham biscuits, potato salad, plastic forks scraping paper plates. Aubrey stood near the exit, near the water table, alone, and then she saw him. Graham Rowe, estate attorney, suit always a little too pressed, smile just a little too tight. The kind of man who called everyone Miss, like he was holding a dagger behind his back. He approached like a shadow in heels. Aubrey, he said, like the name tasted sour. I was hoping to catch you before you left. She nodded slowly. Something in her stomach curled. I'm not staying long. Then, you'll want to hear this, he said, glancing around. Mind stepping outside? They stood in the parking lot, beside her rental car. She could see the pine trees behind the church swaying, like they were whispering something she wasn't meant to hear. I wanted to prepare you before the official reading of the will, Graham said. Then he paused, long enough for dread to settle in her chest like concrete. There's no mention of you in the will. He said it plain, like weather, like fact. What? Her voice cracked. There's no legal adoption record, no paperwork tying you to William legally. Without that, you're not a recognized heir. Aubrey's world tilted. Wait, that can't be right. He adopted me when I was 10. There's no court record of that. She blinked. I lived with him since I was a child. He enrolled me in school, took me to every doctor. He introduced me as his daughter to everyone. Graham adjusted his tie. I don't doubt he treated you as such, but legally I can only work with what I have. What about the certificate? He had it in a frame above the piano. He looked up. That's not legally binding. Might have been ceremonial, sentimental. No, she said, backing up. You're wrong. Inside, the people who called her family were laughing over sweet tea. But Aubrey stood in the cold wind and realized she didn't even know who had taken her name out of the story, and worse, who had rewritten it. She didn't cry in the car, didn't scream. She sat still, too still. Her hands clutched the steering wheel like it was the last piece of her identity. And then something snapped. She turned the key, put the car in gear, and drove straight to the house she'd grown up in. The white farmhouse on Belfield Road hadn't changed much. Same chipped porch paint, same wind chimes clinking near the door, but it looked smaller now, like someone had shrunk the memories. She stepped inside. Claire, her cousin, was already there. Red wine in one hand, phone in the other. You heard? Claire said without looking up. You knew? Aubrey asked. Claire shrugged. Uncle Will told Dad once, said he meant to file the final paperwork but never did. Guess it slipped through the cracks. "That's a lie," Aubrey said. "He was meticulous. He never forgot anything." Claire leaned against the counter. "You think being raised by him makes you family?" "That's sweet." Aubrey felt the heat rise to her face. "I am family." Claire gave her a look that sliced like glass. "Maybe in heart, but not on paper. And that's what matters now." Aubrey turned. She walked down the narrow hallway, to the music room, to the spot above the piano. The frame was gone. The wall was freshly patched. Paint still smelled new. Someone had erased it. She spun on her heel. "Where's the certificate?" Claire didn't answer. "Where is it?" "Gone," Claire said calmly, "like your claim." That night, Aubrey didn't sleep. She paced the guest room, stared at the ceiling, heard every creak in the old house, and every echo of words never said. And then, in the quiet of 3:12 a.m., she remembered something small, something strange. The envelope, the one she saw William seal the week before his stroke. The one he said was for protection. He slipped it into a book, said it was a backup, just in case. She got up, turned on the closet light, dug through the shelves, and then she found it, tucked inside an old atlas, wrapped in tissue paper, sealed with wax. She broke the seal with shaking hands. Inside, a letter and a key. "Aubrey, if something happens to me and the truth goes missing, this key will help you find it. Go to Northern Star Bank in Charleston, box 311. You'll know it when you see it." Dad. The next morning, before dawn, she was already driving out of Mason County, toward the coast, toward Charleston, toward the truth. The sun was just breaking through Charleston fog when Aubrey pulled into the parking lot of Northern Star Bank. Not a fancy building, no marble floors, just brick walls and dull glass. But it held the truth. She could feel it. She walked in like a storm in denim, hair tied back, eyes locked forward. A teller smiled too brightly. "Good morning, how can I help you?" Aubrey placed the small silver key on the counter. Her voice didn't shake. "I need access to deposit box 311. It's under William Whitaker. I'm the secondary signer." That last part, she wasn't sure about. She was praying he'd remembered. Praying that he'd done the one thing she couldn't fake. The teller typed, paused, then blinked. "One moment, please." A man emerged minutes later, gray-haired, gold name tag, Mr. Carlyle. He looked at her like someone waking up to a different version of the past. "Miss Whitaker." "Yes." "You're listed as a verified signer." He handed her a clipboard. "Please, sign here." Aubrey's pen hovered for just a second, then touched down, "A. Whitaker." They led her into a quiet room. No cameras, just a table, 4 walls, and a long silver safety deposit box. She stared at it like it might breathe, then opened it. Inside, one manila folder, thick, heavy, a second, thinner envelope marked, "Only to be opened by Aubrey Whitaker." And beneath it, a bound legal document, stamped, signed, notarized, adoption finalization, State of North Carolina, legal parent, William Thomas Whitaker, adopted minor, Aubrey Grace Whitaker. Date, April 14th, 1999. She exhaled hard. Like she'd been holding her breath since the funeral, like the walls finally widened. But that wasn't all. She opened the second envelope, unfolded the letter. "If you're reading this, something's been taken from you. Maybe your place, maybe your name, maybe your truth. I've seen the way they look at you, Claire, Graham, the others, and I've heard things, whispers, plans, so I made sure you'd have more than memories. This document is real, it's filed, it's legal. You are my daughter, in every way that counts. If they try to erase you, show them this. Love, you kid." "Dad." She blinked fast, but the tears still came, not because of the document, but because he knew, he saw it coming, and he still tried to protect her, even from the grave. She returned everything to the box, except the folder and the adoption paper, then walked out, this time taller, because truth has a weight, but it also has wings. Back in Mason County, the sky was overcast. Claire's car was in the driveway, and Graham's Mercedes sat parked out. Front, of course. She didn't even knock. She walked in, folder in hand. Claire looked up from the living room couch, eyes narrowed. "Well, look who's—" "Get Graham," Aubrey said. No warmth, no pause. Claire blinked. "You need to calm now." Graham stepped out of the dining room like someone expecting to negotiate. Aubrey didn't give him the chance. She threw the folder on the table, the stamped adoption decree, the notarized will, the bank ledger, the handwritten letter. All of it laid bare, exposed. "You lied," she said quietly. "To my face." Graham's throat bobbed. He reached for the papers with trembling fingers. "This isn't— How did you get— You think you're the only one who can keep records?" Claire stood now. "What is this?" "This," Aubrey snapped, "is proof that I'm not a mistake, not a guest, not some charity case." She turned to Graham. "And you tried to bury it." "I only acted on what I was given." "No, you acted on what you wanted. You wanted the will that made your job easy, and my existence inconvenient." Graham's lips parted like he might explain it away, but Aubrey reached into her pocket, pulled out her phone, tapped the screen, recording. "You want to talk?" she asked. "Let's talk in court," Claire hissed. "You wouldn't—" "I would." Aubrey's voice was steel. "I already filed with the clerk's office. These are certified, notarized, witnessed." She pointed to the will. "Filed 2 months before his death. Signed by you, Graham. You even notarized it." Silence. Sharp. Final. "You buried it," Aubrey continued. "You presented an invalid will with forged signatures and tried to cut me out." Claire folded her arms. "What do you want? Money?" Aubrey laughed once, dark and cold. "I want the truth back. The name, the title, the respect. I want you to remember that blood doesn't make a daughter." Claire stepped forward. "You think you deserve everything?" "I think I deserve what he left me," Aubrey said. "And what he left wasn't just furniture and farmland. It was dignity." Graham muttered. "This could ruin me." Aubrey stared at him. "You ruined yourself." She walked out. Didn't. Slammed the door. Didn't look back. Just breathed and kept walking. Because justice doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it walks like silence and feels like exhale. It didn't take long. 3 business days. That's all it took for the storm to hit, not Aubrey's storm. Theirs. The county clerk called. Voice tight, but respectful now. "We've reviewed the documents you submitted, Ms. Whitaker. They're thorough." And then came the sentence that closed the circle. "You are the legal heir, not Claire, not the cousins who barely showed up on birthdays, not the man in a polished suit who played judge and jury. Her, the one he raised, the one he picked, the one he protected when no one else did." The court order was printed that Friday, black and white, stamped, filed. Her name, bold at the top. Aubrey Grace Whitaker, sole beneficiary of the estate of William T. Whitaker. She didn't cry, didn't shout. She just sat at the kitchen table, the one she used to do math homework on, and let the silence wrap around her like armor. That weekend Claire came by, no knock. Just a slow, reluctant presence on the porch. "I just need to grab a few things I left in the attic," she said. Aubrey didn't argue. She didn't offer coffee, didn't offer forgiveness. She simply said, "Saturday I won't be here, but someone will let you in." And that was that, because some doors don't close with apologies. They close with truth and locks that don't turn back. Aubrey started small. She painted the hallway first, the one where the adoption certificate used to hang. She patched the wall, smoothed it, hung the real certificate, this time in a steel frame, with a soft light above it, right next to a photo of William from his retirement party, smile wide, eyes proud. She lit a candle beneath it and whispered, "Thank you." The neighbors changed too. Funny how fast they remembered your name once. It showed up on the deed. Mrs. Ellison brought cornbread. Mr. Beale offered to check the roof. One even said, "Glad you got what you deserved." But Aubrey didn't need their approval. She had something better. Proof. She filed the complaint against Graham Rowe with the state bar. Let the investigation run its course. Didn't chase it, didn't hound it, because she wasn't after revenge. She was after peace, and it had finally come. One Saturday, she opened William's old desk. The drawers creaked, dust rose. Inside, under receipts and a broken wristwatch, was a folder labeled "Letters Never Sent." She opened it slowly, a dozen handwritten pages, all addressed to her, all signed Dad. Some were lists of things he hoped she'd do. Some were notes about the past. One just said, "You never had to earn your place with me. You already had. It's since the moment I met you." She held that one for a long time, then folded it gently and tucked it behind the adoption certificate on the wall. A secret just for her. That night, she started something new. Opened her laptop, typed for hours. By morning, it had a name: the Whitaker Legacy Fund Scholarships for kids who aged out of foster care. Legal aid for young adults navigating guardianship, estate fraud, and lost records. Her first mission statement ended with, "Family is not defined by blood. Family is defined by love, and love leaves a legacy." 3 months later, Aubrey stood at the front of a community center classroom. A group of teens, kids in hoodies, headphones, guarded hearts, watched her with eyes that said, "Go ahead, try to matter to me." She smiled gently. "Let me tell you about a man named William Whitaker," she said. "He wasn't my biological father, but he was more family than anyone with my DNA." She told them the story, not every detail, but enough, how she'd been raised with love and erased with a signature, how she fought to prove what her heart already knew, and how, in the end, truth won. One boy in the front row raised his hand. "So, did you forgive them?" Aubrey paused. "I let go," she said. "Forgiveness is a gift. Sometimes I give it, sometimes I don't. But I don't carry their lies anymore." Another voice, quiet, from the back. "But how did you know you still mattered?" Aubrey's voice softened. "Because I didn't let the world decide it for me." Later that night, she walked past the old bakery on Main Street, the one William used to take her to every Sunday. She went inside, bought 2 lemon bars, sat on the bench outside, ate one slowly, wrapped the second, put it in her bag. Tomorrow, she'd leave it at his grave. Not because she had to, because she still missed him, because love doesn't die, even when people do. Back home, she updated the Legacy Fund site. On the home page, under William's photo, she added a quote: "You don't become family by proving it. You become family by living it." Then she closed the laptop, turned off the lamp, pulled the covers over her shoulders, and for the first time in years, slept straight through the night. No nightmares, no fear, no need to explain herself to the dark, because justice doesn't always wear a robe. Sometimes it's a certificate on a wall, a photo in a frame, a room full of kids learning they matter, and sometimes it's just knowing they didn't erase you, they never could.